We have three great guests in our power panel this morning. Let's welcome them in. National parenting and family relationship expert Dr. Sue Cornbluth is here. Also former prosecutor and criminal defense attorney Randolph Rice. And want to welcome onto the program a brand new guest, but we've seen him in action. Loved his advocacy work in the treadmill abuse murder trial. So happy to have criminal defense attorney Mario Gallucci joining us as a legal analyst this morning. Good morning to you all. Randolph, let me start with you, please. What the defense did with Grandma Susan had all our courties in an uproar yesterday. I didn't see one positive comment about Grandma. And I have to say, I think the attorneys bear some responsibility here. I'm curious what you think about how the defense did that presentation with her and if it could have been better.
Well, I think Grandma Kathy might be right about one thing, is that there's serious mental health issues in America, and she may be suffering from them because she's on the stand not defending or standing up for her daughter. And this, unfortunately, is this is where justice and love meet in the courtroom, that her love for her grandson, knowing that he's the only surviving one of this line, forces her to sit there and really, like you said in your opening statement, just to besmirch her daughter for the sake of trying to save, last-ditch Hail Mary, her grandson. So the defense, you know, look, they're trying everything they can here because they really don't have a lot, but I don't know that this was the right move for them.
Right, I'm with you, Randolph. It could have been better. And think about this, if Collin walks, who's he gonna go live with? Perhaps Grandma Susan here. Is he a psychopath? What will he do next if he's not locked up? Dr. Sue, this is where we wanna bring you in. Your thoughts, please.
I mean, that's a loaded question. There's so many factors here in terms of if he is a sociopath, a psychopath, or he's not. Psychopaths have a combination of three things: genetics, trauma, and brain damage. Okay, those are the three things that we're looking for when we're trying to diagnose this. And it seems that trauma is definitely one thing that has happened here. We don't know if he has brain damage, but there does seem to be a genetic link here coming from the grandmother. And I'm not sure if you really needed me on here today, Julie, because your opening statement nailed it psychologically. Look, for the courties out here, let me explain this. Grandmom is a victim of the daughter. That's how it came off, that she is a victim here. So she sees Collin as a victim also. So she has to save him, just like she saved herself, from not intervening and probably not giving Kathy the kind of care that she needed. So this is her last ditch cause to save her grandson, because she didn't step in and save her daughter.
Dr. Sue, thank you for all that. That's helpful insight. I hear what you're saying, that she's identifying with Collin. She's feeling
Correct.
something for Collin. And we've seen Collin in those videos, in the body camera footage. He is cool as a cucumber when he speaks to police every time. And many courties were wanting to see him speak in this trial. He opted not to. Mario Gallucci, I want to bring you in on this question. Do you think this was the best move for him not to testify?
So it's a very difficult question whether to let your client testify. I see that the judge is letting in evidence from the prior murder of his father, which is beyond belief. But if you're going to let him testify, it's opening him up to questions about what he had done about a year earlier by killing his father. So if he testifies and he has to admit to killing his father, although they're claiming it was self-defense, I know it was investigated, they said it was in self-defense. When that comes out, it's going to be very difficult for a juror to say, wait a minute here, you killed your father a year ago and now your mother is dead. So, you know, it's truly a psychopathic pattern.
Appreciate it. Great points, Mario. There's a pattern here for sure. I have to wonder if that first case is going to be reopened. Mario, curious if you're Collin's lawyer, would you be concerned about what he may say on the stand if he were to choose to testify because of the idea that this case could be looked at again?
He would have to be very well prepped. And as you saw yesterday with the grandmother, I don't believe she was very well prepped. The defense attorney kept having to rein her in and rein her in and rein her in. Grandma had her own agenda, and it seemed like the defense attorney wasn't able to stop her from her own agenda. You know, as a defense attorney, you want to put a witness on to get certain facts out. In this case, the defense attorney wanted to get out the facts that, you know, there was this daughter had an issue and that the issue might have led to her death. But grandma just kept going on and on and on. And it was crazy. Dead daughter, you had just pointed out, Julie, that she called her a dead daughter. Couldn't even mention her name or say daughter. So that was very telling, very telling.
It really was. Sharp points there, Mario. Thank you for that. Dr. Sue, something we've been talking about in our newsroom, we've been wanting to ask you is, based on the pattern here, this child, teenager, whatever we want to call him, a little monster, kills both his father and his mother. He is 17 years old right now. If he would be back in society, is it possible that he could become a serial killer?
I mean, anything is possible, right? He has a pattern here of taking the lives of people that are close to him. And it appears that he has a lack of empathy, a lack of remorse. And people like this have a tendency to manipulate others and be extremely impulsive. What scares me the most here is that he took 2 lives of his mother and his father. I believe that there is extreme abuse that has gone on here behind the scenes that we're not privy to. And that is always, always a factor that leads to someone becoming a serial killer. So it's a 50-50 chance here, Julie. And the problem here is that this young man needs help. And I hope that he gets some, even if he is behind bars. If he's out in the public, I think it's also the judge should put something that says he needs to be institutionalized or in a program for a very long time so that he can get some help that he needs for this trauma that he's gone through so he doesn't take it out violently on other people.
Amen, my friend. Great points. Randolph Rice, I want to end the segment with you. You were a prosecutor, hearkening back to your time serving as a prosecutor. Would you feel more pressure with this case, perhaps, than some others, given what we just heard Dr. Sue saying about the potential, if this kid isn't incarcerated and if he isn't given help, that he could be a real danger to society?
Yeah, you know, every case you take as a prosecutor, you want to make sure you do the best you can. You want to make sure you are there for the victims and the state. You know, that's obviously who you're working for, to protect the victims, or to at least have a voice for the victims, and then ultimately to protect the state that you work for. So doing the job, making sure that somebody that could cause harm in the future is off the streets, that's obviously the #1 job that you're focusing on. And I think they're doing a great job. I think they're going to focus on, in closing, obviously the facts, right? Not the emotions of what the grandmother said, but what actually happened and the forensics of what happened that day in that house.
Yes, so well said. Randolph, thank you for that. A great insight from you all. We'll leave it there till we go into the courtroom in just a short time. Dr. We also heard from Monica's personal trainer, who testified that she would flirt with him. So let's talk about how these witnesses may tip the scales of justice for the prosecution in this California case. Let's bring in attorneys Randolph Rice and Mario Gallucci to talk about it. Okay, so Mario, let me go to you here, please. In terms of telling the story, painting the picture of Monica having a pants on fire situation going on, hiding her secret life from her husband, how do you think the state is doing?
I think they're doing a very good job of showing that she's greedy, and she wanted money from her husband. She wanted to move on with this relationship, which was very obvious from the evidence I've seen. And in order to move on with this relationship, she needed that insurance policy. So it was, you know, kill her husband and move on with her new life. And I think they're doing a very good job of showing that.
Yes, yes, painting that picture. She was greedy. You're right, Mario. That's the biggest thing when you say greedy and lustful. These pictures so racy. Some of them they couldn't even show to the jury. They're just having the detectives describe them. You can imagine how we're handling this at court TV. There's not much of anything we can show. Some of them are just so bad. Tell me, Randolph, when we think about this woman she's trying to draw the line but she didn't commit a murder. She might have been greedy, might have been a cheater, but no murder for her. Do you think the defense team for her can effectively make that boundary for this jury?
Well, if they're going to try and use this idea that she was in it for this insurance policy, which I know $1.6 million seems like a lot of money, but, you know, this situation, what the defense needs to say is, why would she rip the ATM out of the wall if she had the ATM there that she could get every day? And that's what they're going to have to say, that she is living this wonderful life. Why would she jeopardize that? And I think they asked a lot of those questions of the personal trainer about her care for Fabio, that she was going to the gym with him and she wanted to see him healthy. And the defense is trying to establish that she was a loving wife, that she had no reason to kill her husband, that she had a wonderful life with him, and that this was just not in the cards for her motive.
Right, Randolph, thank you for that. Yes, the defense is trying to say that, you know, her lover, Mr. Baker, and his buddy, the assassin, had got together and just did this on their own volition, and that she had nothing to do with it. Her hands are clean to a degree. Let's look at a couple more clips here. We have one of her racquetball friend Elise, and we've got one of her trainer talking about how Monica suspected Fabio to be cheating.
I think she said she was unhappy and that she thought he was cheating on her.
As far as the marriage, did you give her any advice on her marriage when she told you that she was in an unhappy marriage?
I asked her, when she told me she was unhappy, I said, why don't you just get a divorce?
And what did she say to you?
Why throw away 20 years?
But it's not really throwing it away, is it? If it's peaceful and everybody lives. Mario Gallucci, what do you say to that?
I say that there's a lot going on behind the curtain here. You know, a lot of people see that you have a great relationship and she's doing very well, but obviously when Baker came into her life, that all changed. And I think that the prosecution is trying to show that things changed immediately for her when she met this man, and that she was about to move on and didn't care about that life.
Right, yeah, you're exactly right. Randolph, everybody's wondering if Monica is going to take the stand. What do you think about that?
Oh, man, that is risky, because if she gets on that stand, remember, the prosecution gets to cross-examine her, and they get to ask her about all these inconsistencies, all these text messages, all these phone calls. Things like, how did these guys know? Did you ever talk about the security camera footage or the system in the garage? Did you ever, you know, why were you at the LA Fitness earlier that day, as the personal trainer testified to before the murder? I mean, all these things get to be asked of her, and, you know, prosecutors are pretty good at tripping people up and catch them in lies. So I would be very risky to put her on the stand.
Yeah, most definitely. You know, another risk I'm wondering about for the prosecution would be if they do call, I don't even know what we call them, lover, boyfriend, are they still involved? I have no idea. Robert, she could vaguely remember his last name, Baker, who did a no contest plea, and the defense thinks that he's going to come in and side with them and say her hands are clean. If I'm on the side of the prosecution, I'd be a little nervous that this guy might be a wild card. Mario Gallucci, I'm curious your take on Mr. Baker and how you think that's going to go.
So he's already pled guilty, and it doesn't look like there was any sort of agreement with the prosecution in it. So he could come in on either side. So it's up to whoever knows what he's going to say before he says it. I mean, if the defense thinks he's going to come in there and say, look, I did this. She had absolutely nothing to do with it. I knew she had an insurance policy, and I was looking forward to getting that insurance policy and then moving on with her or even without her. So, you know, he's a wild card, just like you just said, Julie. He is a wild card, not knowing, you know, which side he's going to stand on.
Yeah, exactly. He better hope he gets someone that doesn't know how to cross, because boy, oh boy, they're gonna grow him like a steak if he deviates from the truth. Speaking of people great at cross, Mario Gallucci, you are one of them. You were sensational. Might I just say, before we have to say goodbye to you, sensational in the treadmill abuse murder trial. Your advocacy, top notch. Love having you on the program. I hope you will come back. That moment about the fish, throwing the fish, like you had me laughing laughing and just, I mean, on the edge of my seat. It was so good. I thought it was one of the best moments of the year in trials we've seen. So just wanted to commend you and tip my hat to you. And
Thank you.
say I hope to have you back very soon. And guess what? Randolph is joining us in Court TV Live this morning, so we're looking forward to that. Thank you both for the. If the death comes during the commission of a felony, that is felony murder. That's where this prosecutor is going. Smart to tell the jury they've proven it under two different theories. Boxed Collin Griffith in. I want to bring in our legal analyst guest now. See what he thinks of the advocacy here coming from the state of Florida. He's a former prosecutor and attorney in the private sector. Now Randolph Rice on the show with us. Okay, Randolph, what do you think of this prosecutor and his closing arguments so far?
Yeah, Julie, I think Mark's doing a great job. He is laying out exactly what happened that day so that the evidence fits the what's called jury instructions. And he mentioned that in his closing. He said, you guys are going to get the jury instructions, which is literally the rules. You know, this is the information that you apply to the evidence to determine if Collin Griffith is guilty or not guilty. So he's done a great job. I think he's using great visuals. He's using the right words. He's not getting too deep, and he's not buying into any of the defense's arguments right now, because remember, the defense is going to get to give their closing, and then he's going to come back for rebuttal to fight all the things, all the crazy things that they're going to say.
Randolph, great analysis. Stand by, please. We're going to hit a break. We'll be right back in. There we have it. Closing arguments for the state of Florida are in. Are you convinced? So let me bring in our legal analyst guest, attorney Randolph Rice. Okay, Randolph, your final thoughts on what the prosecution delivered here in close.
That was awesome. I mean, that is textbook, how you do it, how you lay it out, how you set the table. For now, you let the defense and come back with all their crazy theories, and then you come back and you just hammer it home in your rebuttal. And I think he did an amazing job. I think he laid out all the points. It's not a 30,000 foot view. This is more like a 10,000 right now. You know, he's getting just sort of the overview of everything. Let's hit the high points. Let's use the right words. He did a great job. I can't wait to see. I want to see the defense, but I also want to see his rebuttal, because I think he's really going to bring it home then.
Yes, yes. Randolph, thank you for that. We're going to see the defense right after this break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.